Hello, Guten Tag und Grüß Gott. Today is March the 10th, 2024. And it just so happens to be that this is a significant day in our marriage because it is also our wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, honey. Honey is hiding over on the side. Or should I call you Bunny? I think Bunny is better. Anyway, so yeah, we haven't done a video in a while, so this is about the time that we're going to do it. And I'm going to do a video at the same time that I'm kind of have to deal with my new best friend here, the Great Pyrenees ghost. And so forgive me, if I get distracted, momentarily. So what I'd like to do is I want to start out with what's kind of going on in the world today, because I do want to leave some sort of a historical legacy on all this. And maybe I need to just kind of fix this up a little more here, because I have a dog that kind of moves things around. But anyway, it's we've had a lot of rain here in California. As a matter of fact, we've had an inordinate amount of rain. So we're catching up maybe for a decade or two of having a drought mostly. So this El Nino has really been a big deal. But let's see what's going on here in the world, according to these Wall Street journals here. So what's interesting is there's a solar eclipse is coming up. And so if people are booking flights in order to see the solar eclipse from the air. And that's really interesting. The article here in the Wall Street Journal is, fans book flights just to see April's event from the sky. So evidently, over some region in America, it's going to be totality. So that's kind of a big deal. So here on February 26th, Kiev remains defiant after 2 years of war, and that was about when they were invaded a couple of years ago. So they remain defiant, and of course it's costing us and Western Europe a lot of money to defend them against the Russians. Not sure where this is all going to go, but it's kind of problematic. I want to bring up another article here, and that is, it goes along with what happens when you go soft on crime. So Mexico's gang policy spreads grief. What's happening is that Mexico has adopted a policy that says, let's not shoot right away. Let's be more forgiving of people. And of course, as soon as the police, has received this, to kind of be a little bit standoffish and not be too hard on gangs, they have spread. And now they're controlling, the gangs, the cartels are controlling large parts of Mexico, actually, because they're intimidating the mayors, of the cities. And so consequently, so here's the thing, is you start to ease off in prosecution, and you start to ease off in paying attention to violence in the streets and so forth. And what do you get? More violence. That's it. And let's see what else is going on here. Yeah, so I was just talking about all the water that we've been getting, and it says America's new water sports capital is what? Death Valley. So all of these lakes, and of course Death Valley is mostly below sea level, so water collects there very readily. And I'm not talking about seawater, but the rainwater. And so they have 1 foot deep water, and people are going crazy over that, so they're playing in it, and why not? So another thing that happened here in the last couple of weeks is McConnell, the um, senator, the longest-serving senator and party leader in history. He's the chief of the Senate. Is announced his retirement. He's 82, and I'm 84, and he's retiring because he's getting senile. So you got to be wondering about me, right? Shit, right? But so he's going to hang it up. We're all a little bit different, right, Mom? Right? We're all a little bit different. I'm kind of a youngish 84, right? Maybe.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, what else is significant here is the Supreme Court agrees to hear Trump's claims of immunity. And, I'm not sure exactly what the details of that is, but, it seems to me like if he had immunity in looking at the documents that were at the White House at the time that he was president, and then those documents moved to Mar-a-Lago, what's the difference? He's already seen them. He's already, had them under his care, and he must, or he and his staff that also had high security clearances, they decided that these documents would be of historical value to his library, and whatever happens, when he decides to do the thing that presidents do, establish their legacy of, what they've accomplished. And so, you have to have framed things, that people can look at. So, of course, the Democrats are chasing him over this. In fact, they sent the FBI after him, and raided the compound and so forth. So the Supreme Court is going to rule on that. And that'll be interesting to hear, because it is a little bit of a conundrum. There are super secret documents, and they're no longer in the White House. But on the other hand, there were documents that he had access to. So I don't know which way this is going to go, but it's going to be interesting. So another thing that I wanted to point out is it says Ramadan deadline looms over the beleaguered city, and I want to show you. You have to forgive my circling, because in order to speak about the news, I draw circles to cause my attention to. But I want to show you this. These are a couple of kids in a burned out car. Okay? Now, what I can tell you for sure, because I've been one of those kids, not in burned out cars, there weren't any cars around, but burned out homes and things like that. I can tell you that if these two kids survive, they will have a major hatred of the people that did that to them. Okay? And take a look at their eyes. Take a good look at their eyes. They're playing in this car, but they're going to grow up. And they're going to grow up. Who knows what they'll do? Okay? Okay, I didn't become a terrorist. I never terrorized anybody. I don't know, maybe my wife now and then. She thinks maybe. I'm kidding, right, Mom?
You're kidding.
Okay. She's just kidding. So anyway, so I talked about, that they assassinated this, they think that Putin ordered the assassination of this guy, Navalny, who also ran for the presidency. Was the only opposition candidate, basically. I don't know whether he's got an opposition candidate now, but if he is, he's probably in his pocket, so. Anyway, thousands defied the Kremlin to honor Navalny. And, normally when people associate in against the government, so to speak, or government action in Russia, they get arrested. But, when it happens in mass, thousands of them, then it's a little problematic. You could have a Tiananmen Square, or even, when the Tsar fell, there were troops that were starting to shoot at the protesters, in Moscow at, I think they called it St. Peter's Square. And that's what actually brought down the Tsarist government, because people were horrified over the fact, that hundreds of people were just shot, So you got to be careful with this. And so I guess, the government now is smart enough to say, hey, we're not going to do this. So on March 1st, Biden and Trump both visited the border, and Biden said, well, everything is just really cool. And Trump said, God, are you guys screwed up? So there you have it. This is basically what's going on. And Hamas, they still think they're going to win the war, because they're really counting on the overreaction of Israel to cause a reaction for a public outcry against Israel. So they think, that they somehow are going to negotiate a deal that leaves the leadership of Hamas in charge of something. And what that would mean, is just, it's like that that little bit of the German word is Fäulnis, which is kind of a little bit of rottenness in the whole Gaza area, which then will spoil the entire barrel, of apples. One rotten apple can spoil the barrel. I guess that's a better way to say it, I'm doing my best to do English, so. So I don't know whether you remember Clippy. Clippy. That little Clippy thing that used to be hanging out for Microsoft? Clippy used to, be this little office assistant that was, so as soon as you turned on Microsoft Office, you got Clippy, and Clippy was this annoying thing is, hey, how can I help you? Can I help you with something, And so anyway, Microsoft dumped it because, it was too annoying and all that. But, people are reviving it now. And so there is a guy that actually wrote software, to revive it and tie it to AI. And so, make Clippy a little smarter. And Microsoft's coming after it, so that's naturally, because even though they dumped it, they want to maintain the right to use Clippy if they should they ever do. But, on the other hand, maybe they actually, if it gets some notoriety, then they might lean into it, And just as an aside, for instance, I wanted to show this, but I just ran out of time. But McDonald's, for a very short period of time, has made their chicken McNuggets and some other things available in really Japanese motif, and they call themselves WcDonalds, and it's kind of an interesting thing, and I wish I had something to show it, but maybe I'll get something for next week, and and show you what's going on with this. But my son Patrick came up with this. He says, "Hey, look at what they're doing. The McDonald's emblem is upside down, and they've got this really super secret sauce, that and it works really best with the chicken McNuggets. And look at the bag. The bag has Japanese emblems all over it. It's anime filled, all over, with anime printing. So what I'm saying, is with Clippy and with WcDonalds, instead of McDonald's, going after the people in Japan, the anime creators, when they're using, the upside down M. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have the same problem. Her name starts with an M, mine starts with a W. Yeah, so we got kind of the same problem. But in any case, what's interesting about that is that McDonald's decided to lean into this, and they're actually making it a big deal. So for a short period of time, that they're having these call themselves WcDonalds. So it's kind of cool. So here's something about when I want to talk about the press and the left-leaning press. I tell you, it's really interesting of how they do this. For instance, here they have the headline says Trump scores string of wins to edge closer to nomination. Now, what's fascinating about this is that is how they phrase this. Trump scores string of wins to edge closer to nomination. That's absolutely true. He did that. But imagine if that would happen, if Biden or a Democrat would be sitting in Trump's position right now. The press would be saying, Biden trounces Nikki Haley, okay? But instead, what they're saying is, well, he scores strings of wins. And they don't say that Nikki Haley, unfortunately, only won one state. He won the rest of them on Super Tuesday. Okay? So this is how the press works. The left-leaning press. They give everything a really clever twist so that you're walking away with the impression, well, Trump's is closer to the nomination, which is all true. But what he did is he trounced Nikki Haley. Anyway. And then subsequently she resigned. And withdrew from the nomination. Okay, so Trump is going to be the primary candidate unless somebody quickly emerges, which could always happen. Another interesting thing that happened is France adds right to abortion to the Constitution. That's a huge thing, and we're still arguing over that, as to when does life begin and all that kind of stuff. So in China, the headline here says, Xi accepts the slowdown, risking stagnation. So Xi, he promised the people a bright and glorious future if they follow the rules, okay? But the other thing is that he said is that the party is always right, okay? You have to accept the fact that the party is always right, and that if you follow the rules, there's a bright and glorious future for you because we know what we're doing. We're the party. We know what is good for you. And so, don't argue with us, right? That's how it really works. Sorry, I'm looking away from the camera because I'm looking at my wife. It's so much easier to talk to a human being, than it is to the camera. So anyway, so the question is, that when he takes a stand, that he's okay with the slowdown. What is the party going to think? Is the party going to support that? Because the party is always right. We'll see, how Xi is going to negotiate this particular thing. But what I also found interesting is that, I actually ran into a guy while I was walking the dog that just came back from China. And he was Chinese. Just came back from China. Of course, I think he was born in the U.S., spoke perfect English and all that. And he said, I spent time in Taiwan, a lot of time in Taiwan and China, Singapore, and I'm not sure what business he's doing, but the reason he decided not to stay in China, and he says that a lot of people are fleeing China. The people, with a lot of knowledge, they like to come to America or they're going elsewhere, is because China is getting more and more controlling and drifting more toward the old communism. Now, I don't know whether he's right or not, but this is somebody just came from there. He says, I'm not going back. My family is here, my parents are here, and so he, well, he did say what he was doing. Actually, what he was saying is he was teaching Chinese potential immigrants how to immigrate. So he was actually, so that's probably put, probably a problematic to the Chinese government. So he probably had to leave. That's my guess. Really nice guy. A dog owner loved the dog, and Ghost liked him too, so it was okay. So let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah. Well, Haley exits the Republican race. We've talked about this, but farm imports and EU policies spark clash in Poland, and so the farmers all over the EU have really been pissed. As a matter of fact, in Paris, they shut down things. They burned dung in the streets and all kinds of stuff. And they've been pissed because why? The EU is telling them what they can grow and what they can't grow, and what kind of stuff that they can use for fertilizing and all that stuff. And they have, like hundreds of years of experience in how to make their land work. They've been toiling that same earth for thousands of years, basically, and they've been reviving it, however they can. And the EU doesn't like that, because they have environmental concerns and so forth. And then the farmers don't like it and say, well, if you don't like what we're doing, you're not going to eat, So there you go. So let's, I know that in Germany, they're bowing to the farmers, because they also, all the countries, having something. And that's problematic when the federal government, which is the EU, tells the states, which are the countries in the EU, the member countries, what they can do. Regulating the curvature of the friggin' banana. You give me a break. So Biden had his State of the Union address, and of course, what did he say? State of the Union is strong. And a lot of people disagree with this, although, I agree with it. I have to say that the State of the Union is strong. And, it's amazing, that we were able to overcome, what the Chinese have done to us, okay? With the pandemic and so forth. We're well on our way to fix things and set things right. And I've actually seen that a couple of years ago already, because I remarked to my wife, as I was driving to my sister, up north, the valley, the big valley, the San Fernando Valley, is it? What is it?
San Joaquin.
San Joaquin Valley. Yeah, the San Joaquin Valley is, the old orchards are being torn down, new things are being planted en masse, So I've always looked at the when I went through this area on Route 5, it kind of it's a bellwether of how the economy is going. I use that kind of as a meter, as a stick. So if you see things collapsing there and being neglected and so forth, the economy is not in good shape. But if you see things being torn up, replaced, and replanted, a lot of green, a lot of water out there, that comes out from the hills. And now, which is wonderful, all of the water that is up there now, right now in the form of snow. They're going to benefit from this, and Newsom won't have a big claim to not give them the water for growing stuff. That's always been in the science. Tell Newsom to keep your hands off of the water. You want food, we need water. So, yeah, there you go. So, just, one more thing about, I guess, the press is doing this again. So here's, on the headlines for the weekend, it says, tragedy in Texas, a mistake in a Tesla and a shipping science death. A mistake in a Tesla. You see how that's phrased? How cleverly this is phrased. Let's say you're looking at this picture here of this woman, okay? And you know right away that evidently a tragedy happened with her. She's either near death or in death, okay? And how is it associated? It's associated and caused by Tesla, right? Okay. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit, I really, and I think, maybe I'm going to quit the Wall Street Journal because I thought it was the last vestige of neutrality because the opinion page is really quite good. I love the opinion page because it's, it's not all conservative. It's kind of, an even-handed opinion. So here's what happened. This woman drove from a barbecue to go to her house. And by the way, I just put that up here, because they're showing the pictures of where she drove. And as she was turning her Tesla around, she put it in reverse and drove into her own pond and drowned. And Tesla had nothing to do with that. As a matter of fact, they're not blaming Tesla. When you read the article, nobody blames Tesla. She screwed up. She put it in reverse instead of going forward, and it fell off the embankment into the pond. Oh, this was a Texas ranch that they just recently bought for a few $100 million. They have and they also have a mansion in Austin. And, well, yeah, she and her husband are a big deal. And so tragically, this billionaire wife, billionaire herself, because she's the CEO of a big shipping company, died because she made a mistake. And these things can happen, and it's a real tragedy. My point in this whole thing is that the press really hates Elon Musk, okay? And, so whenever they can say something, that, excuse me, getting over a cold. Whenever they say something about Elon, it's always in the negative. Now, when they say something about Soros, it's always real positive. There's this humanitarian, establishes universities and gives away his wealth. And but then there's this crazy guy that wants to go to Mars, and the press has absolutely no compassion for him. So, since I talked about McDonald's leaning into what has been happening in Japan, where they're they're actually using the McDonald's kind of theme when they're thinking about when they're using a reference of an American restaurant, a fast food restaurant, in anime or in whatever what kind of books that they have that are anime like storybooks, that kind of thing. They reference McDonald's, which is the upside down M, and it's a W. And so I mentioned that McDonald's kind of leaned into this, and did not have the meal at hand, but we don't live too far from a McDonald's, probably less than a quarter mile. And so I asked my son if he would be so kind as to get McDonald's for me and see whether they still have the anime kind of theme going. And evidently what's going on is that the anime theme is introduced with a certain amount of stock of things, and they've gone all out on that. In fact, I understand that they are, they have not just the bags, that have the anime theme on it, and I can show the bag here, and the bag here, and you notice that one side and is these are typically anime characters, and this guy here is wearing the W upside down. I mean, the M upside down is a W, and you see that everywhere. And so I thought that was kind of a unique thing, is that the corporation, instead of chasing that copyright symbol, they just kind of lean into it and say, hey, we're going to have this for a week or so. And so they evidently ordered, and I don't know whether all restaurants have done this, but our restaurant, in the neighborhood has done that, and that's how it came to my attention, is that they leaned into it really hard. In other words, even the receipts have McDonald's, the upside down M and the W. And of course, there's food involved here, and so my buddy here is very, very interested in that. Of course, he can't have any of this, but he's carrying that nose that knows everything, so he knows what's going on here. But anyway, it's just a fun thing, even for a time they had receipts that had the W on it, McDonald's. And so I thought just this was a really great corporate ploy to do that, instead of going to sue the companies that produce the animes, that they're using something that is too close. They decided, well, let's see what we can do. And I bet you that it affected their bottom line. When they're doing this, I wouldn't have bought McDonald's today, but because of the anime packaging, I was led to do that. So I just wanted to show you some of the things, because obviously if I try to eat this now, my dog is going to have a snit fit, about it. And as a matter of fact, but let me just show you, for instance, the sauce. It's got the W on it. The French fries, and this is going to drive him nuts. Look at the French fry box. I mean, look at that French fry box. It's got the W on it. Oh boy, is he ever drooling or what? And then here come the chicken McNuggets. And the chicken McNuggets, they have Japanese writing on it. And this, so a Japanese writing, I want to show you. W. Yeah, and it says chicken McNuggets, and evidently that's how you spell chicken McNuggets in Japan. This is really cool. This is so cool. I just wanted to show you and share this with you, because evidently this special sauce is actually a special sauce, and I mean, look at this. It's fancy. It's golden and stuff. and it supposedly tastes very good. So I think I'm going to enjoy that. But I wanted to do a food review, but with the dog right here, um, I don't think so. He's a really good dog, but as soon as food is involved, now somebody said, I can trust my dog with my life, but not my sandwich. Well, that may be the case, but actually, this guy can be trusted with a sandwich. You notice that he hasn't grabbed anything. He could have, because he's got this tremendous mouth and he's got these long teeth and scary teeth. He could have just grabbed this out of my hand. What would I have done? Would chase him and call him names, and yeah, but by that time, he'd probably eat half of it. So it's an amazing dog. So maybe this anime story is just part of the story of how great this dog is too. Now, anyway, so I hope I did enough justice to this, because I thought it was such a clever thing of a corporation to do, instead of going after the companies and spending all this money, and then losing customers. Okay, think about it. If all these people that love McDonald's, in their anime, McDonald's in their anime, then and then all of a sudden they have to take the McDonald's out because McDonald's has got the money to win these things. They're going to lose all these customers. They're going to be pissed off. But instead, they're gaining customers. You know. So now I'm wondering, whether Coors, not Coors, Pabst Brewing, that did Bud Light, maybe they should have done something and lean into it, like, call it, I don't know, redneck light or something of that nature. Hats off to McDonald's that they have the courage to do this. And I, I'm glad that I was able to share this with you. So what else did I want to say? I was talking about this Navalny guy, that was done in probably through assassination because he died in prison, and they won't let him near his body and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, maybe they get to bury the remains, and they'll probably have to shut up about what shape the body is in. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about prisons in Siberia. Okay. The reason I want to talk about this is because I have first-hand knowledge about it. No, a second-hand knowledge. Okay. The reason I say second-hand knowledge because my grandfather told me about Siberia, and I just, he told me all kinds of stories about it, and I can probably go into it maybe on a separate video. But I tell you, that's a brutal, brutal place. Now, one of the things, that I wanted to tell you is that he told me how important the shovel was. His shovel. Everybody had a shovel. And when muster was called in the morning, before sunrise, they all had to show up with a shovel in their hands. And if you did not have a shovel in your hand, they were taken aside, and many times those people were not seen again. Okay? Punishment was swift, and these guys were really not fed very well, in the Siberian prisons, cold and all that. So what did he do? Everybody slept with their shovel. They took the shovel, under whatever blanket they had, and held on to it. Somebody come and wanted to take his shovel because, things happen to shovels. Okay? So if you lost your shovel or you forgot your shovel, you were in deep shit. Okay? There were other stories, But so this guy in Navalny, a presidential candidate, was sent to Siberia into prison. What for? I don't know. There was no trial yet. But you go to prison to await a trial, right? So he never made it to a trial. So now, there's just one more interesting thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is Voyager. Voyager 1. Voyager 1 is like 15 billion miles away. It's just, on the outside of the, I think it's the Kuiper Belt, the asteroid belt, the Kuiper Belt, So it's just about ready to leave our solar system. I think it probably already has left the solar system. And, NASA is still communicating with them. And so, they're talking to him, except now that son of a gun is sending back gibberish. He's hallucinating. It's just kind of like what AIs do, hallucinating. So they don't know what the hell to do about it, And as a matter of fact, they assembled a team, and they're looking over records, that, yellowed papers, to see, how the programming was established and whether there's any clues in there as to what they can do to fix it, whether there's a signal that they can send to him. Because the people that built that thing 46 years ago, they're dead, So, the ones that worked on that program and, that were needed, they're no longer available. So they're looking at old records now. So it's kind of fascinating, it's what's happening with AI and so forth. I think next time, I always promise that I want to talk about my spiritual journey, and that every time I attempt that, it sounds so pompous. It's a journey, spiritual journey. What the hell, we're here for life, we're humans for life. Now that's it, This is it. So I think I've got a couple of comments about this, though, because I wrote down some things, and I said, if there's no life hereafter and there is no God, make the best of what you got, okay? And if there is a life hereafter and there's a God, make the best of what you got. So it's it's a zero-sum thing. I mean, do the best you can. Be good to others. I think that's probably the biggest thing that you can do. So, well, that's about it. My ghost here let me go through it. My wife listened to the whole thing. I feel sorry for her sometimes because I bid you farewell. And so long until next time. Servus, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye.